What is the ultimate timeline for going back to CRNA school? Although it's never too late to go back to CRNA school, for some people it could be too early. I get it, we all kind of want to fast track our careers and get to the goal as quickly as possible. But going to CRNA school too soon before you're ready could make the process a lot more challenging than it needs to be. CRNA schools are also not always very forgiving if you struggle in clinical or if your grades are not up to par, for example. So you really want to make sure you're ready for it when you go in. I went back to CRNA school with 19 months of ICU experience, and personally, I do not think that it was enough time. I would have greatly benefited from just one more year. Now, the good news is I did work in an extremely high acuity ICU. I had a really good foundation in understanding pharmacology and pathophysiology. But I didn't have the experience of enough time in nursing to really get the whole big picture together. I was still really seeing things from a perspective of one disease process at a time. I really didn't have a way to synthesize the whole big picture of patient care together. I was able to catch up and make it all come together by the end of CRNA school, but I did struggle a lot more in clinical than pretty much all of my classmates. At least that's how it felt to me. The Council on Accreditation says you need to have at least 1 year of ICU experience in order to start CRNA school. Most schools, though, have seen this same trend with many CRNA applicants, so most of them want at least 2 years of experience by the time you start. Many will request 2 years before you even apply. My advice is to start out by planning ahead. It's never too early to start looking at CRNA schools you might be interested in, figuring out if you can start to achieve some of their requirements. Some schools will want you to have organic chemistry under your belt, for example. Never too soon to start preparing for that. Make sure to set yourself up for success by getting into a high acuity ICU as early as you can in your nursing career. That might mean working as a nurse extern or a nurse's aide in an ICU while you're in nursing school. It might mean relocating if you're a current ICU nurse. It also might mean getting a job on a step-down unit or moving to an entirely new area if ICU positions are not available near you. Once you hit that year and a half of nursing mark, go ahead and start taking your CCRN exam. Start to look at application timelines for things coming up in your area, attending open houses, because by the time you interview, you're going to have closer to 2 years of ICU experience. And by the time you start school, you're going to have at least 3 under your belt, which for most people is the sweet spot. That 3 to 5 years experience seems to be enough for most nurses to really have that big picture come together, have really great critical care foundation under their belt, and really help them sail through CRNA school, or at least through the clinical portion. Okay, maybe not sail through, but they do have an easier time adapting in clinical than their peers who have less than 2 years, for sure.